Hey, another great day in Reno, Nevada. I'm on 2nd Street and University. Used to be called Center Street in the old days. Very historic part of town. Now it's a little more run down. On the left here was a great place called Thomas Cafe. Elegant retreat for our divorcees. On the right, up here, that was a Morgan Hotel and little casino action going on here. Here's our Club Cal-Neva. And that's from 1948, one of the most original casinos in town. Took over the Fedornia building, used to be right here. On the left, that's our 1908 IOOF building, International Order of Odd Fellows. On the corner was a place called Saw Woo's Tom's Laundry, right here. Martha Jackson, she lived on the end before the IOF building came through. Anyway, used to have some historic places down here, all ripped out. We'll take a little tour. I'll show you what's no longer here anymore as we get down to the river. So our Club Cal-Neva, it started out as a Fedornia building, built in 1914 to house the Palace Dry Goods department store. Then in 1920 became the National Dollar 5 and Dime. 1936 was remodeled, converted into a gaming club called Club Fortune. Lounge, bar, gaming tables, and the very popular Tango Room. 1948 sold to new owners. They renovated again and rebranded it as Club Cal-Neva. By the end of the 1970s, the Cal-Neva bought all the buildings along 2nd Street, expanded all the way down the block to Sierra. On the left, this is the old 1908 IOF building. It started out as a 5-story red brick structure, with the top 2 floors burned out in 1945. So today we're just left with 3 stories. All that remains is the Faux 777 restaurant and the Gopher Market by the end out at Lover's Lane. This whole block area goes back over 100 years. Here's our insurance map in 1904. At the corner of Center and 2nd, that's Saw Woo's Tom's Laundry at the western edge of Chinatown. And some type of building, the Stovepipe, designated as SP. And next, a shingle roof terracotta style dwelling, another Chinese laundry, and another dwelling. This bridge structure here, this is a skywalk leading from the Cal-Neva over to the parking garage, built in 1996. And at one time there used to be a bowling alley out here. I think it opened around 1909, sort of a acceptable diversion for the young ladies of town. And on the right, here's the side entrance to the Club Cal-Neva, 37,000 square feet of fun, 849 slot machines, 41 gaming tables, and 3 poker tables, and a sports book. And back on the east side, we had a ton of stuff going on here. And here we are around 1940 looking north. On the corner of 2nd Street, that's the IOF building. To the right, a little Chinese Bamboo Inn Cafe. That's serving chop suey, 2-story, rounded parapet facade at the roofline. On the right, that's the Doghouse nightclub, owned by songwriter Al Hoffman. He's formerly known as the Joker Reno, opened in 1935. It's a popular nightly floor show, advertised as the Divorcees' Haven. And the gayest spot in town featured the Al Hoffman House Orchestra. That seated more than 250 patrons, a wide range of entertainers from torch dancers, vocalists, magicians, even the mystery entertainer Pauline Lewis. 1939, the building was remodeled with a Western theme, decorations to employee costumes. As a spirit of the old Wild West, it became the largest nightclub in the state of Nevada. And later the same year, the district attorney revoked the gambling license for operating a crooked roulette wheel. So the owners ended up renovating again, reopened as the Tropics in 1944. Hawaiian Island theme, license for roulette, craps, and Big Six. That closed 3 years later in 1947. Then it reverted back to a bowling alley and another nightclub, Harry's employment office, a restaurant, and part of Cal-Neva's employee offices, and today it's our parking structure. 1945, looking southeast from the Fortune Club, we had a fire at our 5-story IOF building, destroyed the top 2 floors, the business college on the 3rd floor, and the penny roulette at the ground level. To the right, that's a former Chinese Bamboo Inn that was renovated for the Bar of Musts. Another view in 1945 looking north, on the corner of 2nd Street, the IOF building again. On the right, that's the Bar of Musts. Next, at 130 North Center, this was the Tropics Dine and Dance. And next to that, that's the Reno Printing Company. And the Reno Printing Company, it started across the street between the old City Hall and the Reno Gazette that moved here around 1931 into the former bowling alley, 124 North Center. Anyway, later torn down like everything else here. Then we have Club 116 at the ground level of the New State Hotel, 116 North Center Street. Opened in 1939, licensed for slots, 21 roulette. Before that, this was the site of the Alpine Club. Sorry, I don't know much about the Alpine. Anyway, the Club 116, that closed its doors in 1955. Then became the popular Hofbraustein. And here's our New State Hotel, 3-story brick structure, large squared-off windows. On the ground floor, that's the Hofbraustein, Reno's finest Hofbrau, serving draft beer, hot sandwiches, and cocktails. The great aroma of the roast beef, you could always smell it wafting out of the front doors. Looking north, we have Harrah's employment office at the former Tropics Lounge. And the State Hotel and the Hofbrau were demolished in the 1990s for the parking garage. And right about here as well, in the 1960s or so, the site of Paul Revere's Kicks, owned by musician Paul Revere, is based on Paul Revere and the Raiders' 1966 hit Kicks, featured on American Bandstand, the 1979 Dick Clark reunion show. And this week, they're celebrating Hot August Nights, which is sort of Reno's celebration of classic cars and rock and roll. On the west side of Center, to the left of the Cal-Neva, this was once a home of the Western Union office. To the left of that was the old Reno Evening Gazette, Nevada State Journal building. That was built in 1908. And the Journal moved here in 1939 from the historic 1876 Journal building. And that's still standing up there on 2nd Street today. And finally on the corner, well, this is the old historic City Hall building, built in 1907. Granite block foundation, our iconic landmark clock tower, that's featured in thousands of photographs of old Reno. In the first floor offices for the mayor, the chief of police, city judge, little emergency hospital room, and the men's jail. In the second floor, there's the city attorney, engineer, jail for boys, women, and a few other functions. In 1961, the city sold the building to the National Bank, moved out to the Southside School down at Center Street. Anyway, 1965, the First National tore down both our City Hall and the Evening Gazette for the new parking structure. Today, City Hall sits at the First National Bank Tower at 1st and Virginia. So that brings us all the way down to 1st Street in University or Center. Out here was the old Reno Garage. Now it's an abandoned telephone building. This is called the City Plaza. We're trying to fix it up, make it all artsy style. And the City Hall's the parking structure. We're going to head a little more south. See if we find some pretty fun stuff. Out here's the end of Lover's Lane with all our prostitutes and brothels, and on the far end out there, that's where Chinatown was moved to after they kicked them out of this little section of town. But there you go. Little fun stuff in old Reno. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.